be coming in. Hey, Serge, nice to see you. And yeah, just feel free to send it over to anyone else. Just had a little bit of a mix up with the links. It's only happened once before, but that's okay because we're all here now and we are ready. And so yeah, welcome everybody. It's Monday, June the 29th. 6:10 p.m. We're going to be talking about crypto today. So what we had originally started this community is around, digital assets, around cryptocurrencies that we've had for the last couple of years now. And so today we're going to have our monthly update with Mehdi, followed by understanding a little bit more about crypto-backed loans. And we have Nicholas Sutherland joining us as well. So he's going to be talking to us about that for the latter half of today's meeting. And yeah, we're really interested to hear about everything from what's going on in the world. As we know, there's a lot of moving parts, especially with investing. That's why we branched out just from conscious in crypto into conscious investing community. So it's more holistic. As we know, there's so many moving parts, and it gives us the opportunity to take opportunities when we see one coming up on the horizon, or to kind of pull back if we think that things, so we're not too attached just to one specific investment, right? And as you know, we've been talking a lot about in our previous meetings, this being more community based, we love to diversify our portfolios and kind of look at all the moving assets and seeing what we kind of anticipate things to, either appreciate or things to maybe we should pull out of a certain thing. And so today we're going to be doing our, preparation for crypto as we are right now, more so in the bear market. But without further ado, because I know we are running a little bit short on time, I'm going to let Mehdi take it over. So Mehdi, it's good to see you.
Hey, thanks, Alexis. Hi, everyone. I need to get a request to be able to share. Okay, great. Yeah, good to jump back into crypto. As you know, we've been away for a while, knowing that it's going to be a crypto bear market and there's not going to be anything too interesting going on. Just to revisit where we are in the cycle. As of now, we've been months into the bear market, and on the weekly chart, you can see that the RSI has cooled down and come down to areas where we usually tend to see towards the end of the bear markets. So if you go back in history in 2022, we were here somewhere in June 2022. Where are we now? June, right? So it's kind of the same timeline. Also, in the one previous to that, we were around this area in the RSI in November. However, if you go back to the June of that year, it might be kind of closer to where we are now in terms of the timeline after the top. So the peak happened a little bit earlier there, and we tend to have a flush out at the end of the bear market, which either happens something like this: we hold a line for a while, and then we suddenly have some event happening, some crypto exchange going down, or something political, and then we have a sudden flush out, and that's kind of the last move. If you recall, if you were around during the last bear market, this was one of the most famous cryptos going down, and we had a sudden drop, and that was the end of the bear market. And usually, a good sign to see is you see a divergence in the how the price action is moving versus how the RSI is moving. And that is when the price is making a lower low and the RSI is making a higher low, which that is considered a divergence and usually is a good sign that we're getting to the end of the bear market. It could be a good sign, or at least one good sign to look at amongst other signs that we have to look for. In terms of timeline, we are getting close to the timeline that we expect a bottom for the bear market. And according to history, that's usually 1 year out of after the top of the previous cycle. And that
Thank you.
that takes us to, is somebody asking a question or something? Oh, no. Okay. And that takes us to towards October this year, so somewhere mid-October. And it's never exact, so give it 1 month before, 1 month after at least, as the wiggle room for the bottom to happen. But certainly we're getting now that we're over 50% down from the top, it's really time to prepare and consider getting ready to, I guess, if you're new to crypto, getting ready to start investing, perhaps dollar cost averaging into the market. And this, I would say, is we're getting very close, or we are kind of at the price that you can start dollar cost averaging in a sense, in my opinion. And just as to revisit this chart that we've been following for months. Before the top, we drew this trend line that we talked about, this giant multi-month reverse head and shoulders that we broke out of. We retested the neckline. We got to the top of the bear market. We dropped back down, retested the neckline again. We had a bounce. We fell through it. We went up, tried to get over it. We couldn't. We got rejected. And now we're going down into the zone that we identified is our buy zone. So we're very close to our first buy zone, and then the heavy buy zone which is below that. And if you look at this circle here and I turn on the moving averages, you can see that this is showing the 50-week moving average crossing below the 100-week moving average. And just as a comparison, if we go to the previous cycle, that happened around this time. So that price was here when that happened. So you can kind of get a sense of where we are in the cycle. We're getting close to the end, but we might not yet have seen the final flush out, or we might just go sideways for a while. So it is a time to sort of prepare. Again, if you look at what happened in the previous cycle, the price action is different, but you can actually, looking at the moving averages and the RSI together, you can actually identify these moments that were very similar throughout the topping out of the previous cycle all the way to now that we're getting to the bottom. It has, in a strange way, been very similar and yet different, of course. As zooming out, you can see that our very long-term sort of curve that has been playing out in terms of the very long-term movement of Bitcoin is still intact, and the movement is expected, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. We can still see some more downside before reaching that line, and that line is not an exact line, it's kind of an approximate, so take it with a grain of salt in a sense. And but yeah, sort of the line that we drew that we're waiting for is October, and it's getting close. So that's what's happening with Bitcoin. And again, we don't look at the other altcoins because unless Bitcoin starts the next cycle, I don't think the majority of altcoins are just gonna continue to lose momentum and get even worse returns compared to Bitcoin. So we don't really look at the other cryptos at this point in time. But it's good to note that the S&P 500 is still around the all-time high. So if we turn on the Bitcoin halving cycle diagram, we can see that usually when we get close to the Bitcoin bottoms, we tend to see somewhat of a weak stock market. Like as we have the weakness in the stock market, Bitcoin goes to its low. The cycle before that, the same thing. Cycle before that, not quite, but you can say at least it was going sideways. Right now, it's still going up. So one thing that I'm looking for as an indicator that we're getting close to the end is some sort of a retracement in the overall stock market, at least on the um, S&P 500. We know that what's really moving this right now is still AI stocks. And you can see it in the SMH, which is the chips stock. It's still moving higher. So that's kind of they call it a bubble. I don't know if it's really a bubble. A bubble can continue to expand. So I don't know with disruptive technology like AI, how long this um, let's say hype is going to continue taking this market up before a large correction, but it does seem overextended anyhow. So if you're going into AI stocks, just have this in mind that it is at all-time high and it's been going up for a very long time, and that usually isn't a great sign for further upside, but that doesn't mean it can't go higher. Other than that, I think we can see that gold is having a nice retracement after that uh, sort of a speculative move up, acting like a I don't know, better than crypto in terms of bringing gains. Now it's kind of retracing. Silver also having a nice retracement. So these are cooling down precious metals. I think copper was one that is still rather it was lagging, so it's still going up. Other than that, oil is coming down as the war has kind of cooled down a little bit in the Middle East, and there's oil flowing. Oil has been coming down, and that has resulted in the dollar going up. I believe that's a correct way to say it. The dollar has been going up, and usually when dollar is going up, it's not a great time for risk assets. So I expect the crypto at least to as a highly risky asset to continue to go down for a bit more. And I think the timeline is also lining up for that. I think it's just time to prepare and plan for the next cycle. If you're not buying right now, I don't see any problem with that. But if you're not planning, this might be a good time to start planning. Uh, and this is the best time to plan and then stick to it for the next 4 years. Because then emotion is gonna set in, and we went through it together, some of us that are here, last cycle, and we know that it's gonna get really emotional, and we're gonna have mistakes. So it's good to have a clear plan and try to stick with it throughout the cycle. So that's it for the crypto update. I think we looked at other things as well, but yeah, I can give it back to you, Alexis, if there's any questions.
Someone's asking about ETH and Solana.
ETH and Solana. Okay, as I mentioned, as Bitcoin is going down, ETH and Solana are just going to do worse. So if Bitcoin's down, I think 50 something percent right now from the top, you can see it's 54% down. If you go to ETH, it's probably more than that. It's down 69%. And then if you go to Solana, it's gone all the way down to 77%, 76%. So you can see how the altcoins outperform Bitcoin to the downside. And things like ADA have been really even worse. So if we go from all the way from the top there, it's been down almost close to 90%. 90%, that's a lot. So yeah, during bear markets, ideally, we don't want to be in crypto. I mean, at least not anything other than Bitcoin. There have been coins that are doing well. I think Hyperliquid, for example, is one that's done well. I think it actually made new all-time highs, if I'm not mistaken. But again, if you look at that's one crypto out of what, like thousands. So I would suggest not trying to pick winners right now, because the majority are not going to do great unless you have like extreme amount of time to pick the research a ton and find something that is in an uptrend, which again is still risky. So that's it. I think it's if we look at the other altcoins, it's just going to look worse and worse. So I would say that's enough for altcoins right now. What's
Thanks.
going to happen to altcoins is once Bitcoin turns the page and starts the bull run, for a while the altcoins are still going to lag, and then once Bitcoin proves that we're in a bull market, they're going to start to move up, and then some of them will outperform Bitcoin right away. If we are to see an alt season, that's where we see Bitcoin going like parabolic and really going crazy, and that's where the money flows from Bitcoin into altcoins. But I think so far and last cycle and this cycle and so far, I think the spotlight has been stolen by AI stocks. So all those developers, computer scientists that were in crypto, many of them migrated into AI. And I think that doesn't mean that crypto is gonna stay down for the long term. That just means that the hype wasn't here this time round. It was elsewhere. So I actually believe that there's going to be a convergence at some point. AI is going to use crypto for machine to machine, perhaps purchases and things like that. And it's all going to come together at some point. So not anything bad about crypto, just that it wasn't the spotlight this time around. Any other questions?
Someone was just talking if Bitcoin, any thoughts on silver?
Silver.
We'll go back to 100. Did we cover silver?
Yeah, I mean,
Gold.
I think, in my opinion, silver really had its run. So I would say it's already gone through a pretty nice parabolic move here, and it got really extended. Now it's just coming back to, it hasn't even gone below the parabolic trend line yet. So if there is a chance for it to bounce, I think it's once it gets closer to this line, there might be another bounce. But if you go back into history, usually after a big move like that, it goes sideways for quite a long time. It's been a little different this time around. I think just the fact that silver is being used in AI tech, I think it is a good case for it. The same with copper. I think copper is right now going through that phase of expansion. But I don't particularly think that silver is going to have another really big move anytime soon. I don't think so. Yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
the same with gold. I'm not anticipating, like, gold has basically broken the parabolic trend line that it was on, and it's now consolidating after that. So again, usually when the hype is the most, it's already too late.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was here perhaps where most of us got really aware that gold is making like a big move, and some of us got in a little late, and now it's coming down, and we're all waiting for it to go back up, and it's not going to do that. You know? So yeah, the thing is going to the boring asset, because gold was boring from here to here, and nobody wanted to go into gold at this point, but then it did that, right? So Bitcoin is now more in that area of it's going down, right? So now that it's already 54% below its all-time high, it's time to pay attention to the asset that is not doing well
Yeah.
or has not been doing well for a while. Yeah, rather than trying to catch the latest trend, which is usually close to being over.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I really appreciate that perspective, Mehdi. I think that it's like easy to focus on price action, but like what really excites me, what you were talking about before, is like the bigger picture. So the convergence of AI, blockchain, and machine to machine transactions.
Mhm.
I think it's fascinating to think about what and where we're headed with all these technologies, robotics even.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
agreed.
yeah. So thanks for the update. And yeah, definitely about that a uptrend versus, you know, a downtrend, or when something's kind of staying stagnant, what are the indicators pointing towards something that could
Hmm.
cause it to go up, and really like doing our research. And I think that's what our community has done a really good job at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Mehdi.
Thank you.
On that note, let's shift from the future of crypto to one of its practical applications today. As a realtor, I'm always interested in innovative ways that investors can, you know, leverage their assets to create more opportunities in real estate and also beyond. And that's exactly what we're going to be discussing next. Nick is going to be sharing how we have crypto-backed lending, and that allows investors to access liquidity without selling their actual digital assets. So it really opens up a lot of possibilities, not only for real estate investing, but also business opportunities and just your overall portfolio management as well. And so please join me in welcoming Nicholas Sutherland from ARC Lending.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Thanks so
Nick.
much for having me. I'm super
Yeah.
excited to be here and chat with you guys.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we finally got to link up. We've been trying to do this for some time now,
Yeah, for sure.
and thanks for staying up late, because I believe you're Eastern Standard Time, based out
Yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah. Based out of New York, so our office is in Soho in Manhattan, and yeah, it's around 9:30 over in New York. But I'm super excited to be here with you guys chatting.
Okay, that's excellent.
Cool.
Okay, well, let you take it over. I'm also going to make you co-host in case you need to share any slides, so you have that.
Cool, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys a couple of different things, sort of our one pager on sort of breakdown on our features and sort of what Bitcoin back lending is. I wanted to share with you guys sort of our rate tiers. A big part of Bitcoin back loans is the rate that you're getting, and we have a really competitive rate. And so I wanted to go over that and make sure that it's something that you and the team understand. Show you a little bit of our platform, our app, so you have a sense of how it works and how starting to configure a loan works and how easy that can be. And then finally, might get into a couple use cases. And so I'm super excited to share with you guys. But before we get started, I'm not sure if everyone has the ability to click on the reacts panel, but could I get a couple of reactions? You can send anything from a heart to a thumbs up if you actually own Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, any crypto assets. All right, cool, awesome. So I'm seeing a whole bunch of hearts hit the chat. So we have a good amount of crypto holders. Nope from Clifford. Okay, cool. Hopefully we can maybe Clifford's waiting for the bottom that we mentioned. He's waiting to buy in. That's completely fine. And then just a second question. Has anyone here ever done an asset-backed loan? So not something that's credit related, but an asset that you hold. Either it could be crypto or it could be common, equities that you might hold. Has anyone ever done that? Put a reaction in the chat there if you've ever done an asset-backed loan in the past. Crypto scares me, but I'm interested in hearing more about it. Okay, cool. Hopefully, I can add some context. So it seems like no one's yet done an asset-backed loan. So I'll get into the details here, sort of explaining it from first principles. And so let me see if it'll allow me to share, and let me know if you can see my screen here. Uh, and this sort of is our one pager. And so I'm going to go through it and explain sort of everything here, why it's relevant. And you guys feel free. I can see the chat as well. And so I'll be able to respond and see if you guys have any questions. But pretty much we are on a mission to set the standard for Bitcoin backed loans in the space. What is a Bitcoin or a crypto backed loan? We'll get into some of the other assets we support outside of Bitcoin. We're a Bitcoin first organization. Founded in 2022, so we're just under 5 years old, and we're a relatively small but powerful team. So there's around 13 of us in our office in New York City, and last year we did just over $250 million in loan originations. You can see here our reviews. We have close to 5-star reviews overall. Over 430 clients have gone ahead and reviewed us. I think we have thousands of clients overall. And I'll sort of start to get into explaining some of these terms here. So the biggest thing when it comes to your Bitcoin backed loan is thinking about what are the rates, what is the associated service, and how secure is that loan, right? And how much can I understand about the status of my asset, my Bitcoin, while I'm utilizing it to get liquidity, right? And so those are the things that we really lean on being world class in. The terms that you might see, we see a lot of like acronyms here, and I'll go ahead and explain them. LTV is just your loan to value ratio. So, for example, we have a starting LTV of 60%. The common number is Larry said he's used this type of service before, so I'd be excited to hear a little bit more about sort of how you've used that in the past, what your use case might have been. Starting LTV for most of our competitors is around 50%. We're 60%, so we give you a little bit more flexibility there, right? And that means that if you have 100K worth of Bitcoin, you can get 60K worth of either USD, normal US cash, or USDC, which is a stable coin, sent to your account pretty much same day. Next, I think a big thing to focus on is the APR, right? So a service like this, the way that we make money is through interest, right? And so we offer some of the lowest rates available for these Bitcoin-backed loans. We have really low minimums, so you can get a loan for as little as 5K, but we can offer up to 500 million, and we work with clients in that entire spectrum of sizes. And then we have terms up to 12 months, right? And so sometimes you'll get a loan term, and then the APR can fluctuate within a period of 12 months. We actually give you a term that's a fixed rate for that entire year, so that you don't have to worry and be concerned about the price, the cost, and interest of your overall loan. You can rest assured that for the entire year, you're getting a stable term and a stable rate, and so you can sort of have a little bit of peace of mind. And we also offer rolling terms, and I'll get into a little bit about what that means and why it's valuable. Any questions here so far, guys? I'm keeping an eye on the chat, and so not seeing anything yet, but feel free to speak up or drop a question in the chat if there's anything you're not understanding or anything that's not clear. But I'll get into a little bit of why our clients end up choosing Arch. And so the first thing I would talk about is security and transparency, right? You're using your hard-earned assets to get liquidity. And so the biggest thing you want to make sure of is that you're getting something that is secure, right? Making sure that your coins are held and are safe and transparent, so you understand where they are at all times, right? The number one bullet point that we have in our entire white paper is strictly no rehypothecation, right? Rehypothecation is a term that means, let me just double check this, APR for smallest amounts, shortest terms possible, custody in which jurisdictions. I'll answer those questions in a second. But strictly no rehypothecation means that we don't do anything with your assets, right? So there's some companies and some organizations that will take your assets and trade them or lend them out themselves and use that to earn additional money on the assets you're holding. That's strictly against our policies, and we make sure to keep your assets one-to-one held in secure custody, right? We actually have segregated collateral wallets for any item or any sort of chunk of capital over 100K, so that you can see and know that your assets are secure. And then finally, we have a bankruptcy remote qualified custody at Anchorage Digital, right? Anchorage Digital is the first, federally chartered bank for crypto in the United States, and they're the gold standard when it comes to security. I'm going to go back down here and check for a second on the chat, because I know we had a couple of chat questions. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if we can pull that up. So I think in the chat, Robert had said APR for smallest amounts, shortest terms possible, and custody in which jurisdictions. So I believe we can go ahead and double check here. So if you'd like to configure your loan, and first I'll start with the APR, right? These are our rate tiers, right? So you'll see here, depending on the amount that you're looking to get, the rates will change. And we also have monthly payments and deferred interest, right? And I'll get into a little bit of deferred interest and a little bit explain what it means, explain why it's valuable. But you can see here sort of the smallest loan amounts, the monthly payment will be 9, right? That's the 9% interest. Overall APR would be 10.49%. And once we get to our larger sizes, that's when you see that 7.25% APR. I think we might have a couple more questions in the chat. So let me see if I can find that Zoom. I'm not seeing, I'm seeing it. Um, if you see any questions in the chat, also Alexis, feel free to just like call them out because I'm having a little bit of trouble just like pulling up that little dashboard. But I think you had mentioned shortest terms possible. You can see here our max is 12 months, but you can feel free to just to do a 1 month loan if you'd like. Usually the APR is a little bit lower if you extend this out because you can imagine there is a origination fee, right? And so that amortized over a longer period is usually more affordable. But if you only need the loan for a month, feel free to keep a short term.
Um,
And I believe there's one more question from Robert.
yeah. So custody in which jurisdictions?
Yeah, so we are based in the United States and we are custodying in the United States as well with Anchorage Digital. And was there one more question, I believe? I think I might have seen a notification.
Yeah, where the loan funds originated from.
Got it, got it. I think you're sort of asking there sort of who our capital partners are.
Yeah.
And we work with a variety of capital partners, primarily and most notably one of our investors, Galaxy Digital, one of the premier investors in the crypto space. We had one of the first what's called collateralized loan obligations. And so we originally raised 75 million with the possibility to expand to 200 million, and we've worked with them as our primary capital partners at first. We also have a variety of other capital partners as well that allow us to be able to offer these competitive rates. And so it's a mixture, and something that we're really proud of, and always looking to expand and grow the partnerships that enable us. See a chat here. For Canadians, do they need a US address in order to borrow if using a corporation? Any cross-border complications? Yeah, so if you look here in the dashboard, there's certain states that we support, right? And so you can see if you're looking for Canada in Alberta and save, I believe the jurisdiction is fine. So depending on the state or depending on the country, we'll have different jurisdiction support. So let me just confirm here. Sometimes different jurisdictions have different minimums,
Do they
but it
have
seems to,
BC? Is there British Columbia? The
let me
province of British
see,
Columbia?
British Columbia.
Oh, okay.
I'm almost positive that we have some Canadian loans. It might be that we just need to uh it might be that we're looking to, you might need to have a business entity for British Columbia, but our team can usually walk you through that process. And so feel free to, if you are from Canada, looking into doing this, we have an email here, team@archlending.com, and feel free to reach out to us there and we can support you through the process of configuring in the dashboard if you're from a jurisdiction that's not our native, which is the United States. So I think
So,
that was Robert with this question.
yeah. Are there any like cross-border complications?
No, I mean, I think the big thing is that like crypto itself is universal, right? So the real, and especially if you're taking your proceeds out in USDC, it's very seamless. And so, like I said, if you are from another jurisdiction, a country outside of the United States, send us sort of the asset that you're thinking about lending against, the amount, and your jurisdiction, and we'll get you taken care of same day. If it needs to be, specific contract that we need to orchestrate, we'll make sure that you're taken care
Okay.
of.
I'm
Cool,
on
awesome.
a question. Yeah, please raise your hands, you guys, and just come
Feel
in
free.
like
Yeah,
Sorry.
feel free to hop in, and I'm also checking out the chat as well. So the most recent I saw was Dylan Ross. It's privately backed and source funding. Yeah, so it's really made to be institutional grade, but provided to to everyone, and we really focus on giving white glove service to all of our clients. And then wondering if the CRA will accept the loan costs in terms of tax benefits. I believe that that will work for corporations, but not individuals. But again, anything that's like a specific, like we don't offer any tax advice, but I think we have guidance, and we also have tax advisors that we work alongside with. And so if there's anything specific like that that you're interested in, Mehdi, please let me know, and we'll get an answer for you. Cool, cool, awesome. If we don't have any other questions there in the chat. I'll keep going. Feel free to flag me as I'm going through this. But next, I'm moving on to the section that concerns sort of the flexibility of our loans, right? Because that's the big thing. You have a goal, you have a strategy, you have a perception of how crypto is going to move in the coming months, and you want to be able to act on that. And we want to be able to give you the maximum flexibility, right? And so, for example, you can upsize your loan as BTC appreciates, right? Say that you can have a 60% loan to value ratio. Say that your crypto is worth 100K, right? And you take out 60K worth of loan. You're now at our maximum loan to value ratio of 60%. But if Bitcoin doubles in price to 200K, right? Your 60K loan is now a 30% LTV, right? That puts you in a position where we think it's valuable. We think you should have the flexibility to be able to, without applying again, without going through the process of putting in an application, upsize your loan. And so immediately you can go into the platform, request as much as you'd like, up to your 60% LTV, and have it sent out within the hour, right? And so that's the beauty of having the ability of upsizing your loan. Really and truly, once you've started your loan, it functions like a line of credit. And so anytime you're interested in a structured product, right? We offer structured products for liquidation protection and rate reduction. We allow you to roll over your loan to extend duration, right? A little bit before I had mentioned that we do 12 months of loan duration. At the end of your 12 months, there's actually a button within your dashboard, so you can click and you can roll over your loan with new advanced terms, right? And it's very, very simple. So we've had clients that actually have been taking loans from us. They originally started with a 12-month loan, and they've still not paid back after, I think, around 4 years. Why? Because their Bitcoin is continuing to accumulate, and they're not needing to pay off the loan yet. You can pay off early with no prepayment penalty, right? And so that's a unique feature as well. I'm seeing from Mehdi in the chat, what happens when the asset depreciates? Have to downsize the loan? Yep, great question. So you're actually able to, if you take a look here in our dashboard, right, you can see the loan to value ratio, and we make it extremely clear to you the loan to value ratio, what event is triggered, right, and the BTC value at which point you'd have something triggered, right? And so we make it very, very straightforward. In and around 50%, you can see here that anywhere in this green zone, you're good to upsize, right? Anything up to 60%, you're fully healthy, right? In this yellow zone, that's when we're sending you warnings, right? Part of our white glove service is making sure that you actually hold your Bitcoin for as long as possible. You hold your crypto assets for a lifetime. That's sort of incentive aligned between us and our clients. And we only have a margin call at 70%, right? So you have a big space of buffer, that 10% of buffer between when your loan is completely healthy and when there's a margin call. So if there are sharp fluctuations, you're knowing in advance, and we're making sure that we're there with you every step of the way. This margin call is usually, you can see here, Mehdi, the answer to your question, you need to add additional collateral or repay a part of your loan, whatever is going to bring your loan to value ratio down when you get to that margin call. But that margin call can be cured within 24 hours. So say you're traveling, you're away from your cold wallet, hard wallet, we give you actually additional time, right? And so say you say, hey, I'm good for it. I've worked with you guys for several months now. I'm actually on vacation, but I'm going to be back to my wallet, my cold storage by the following week, right? We can give you an extension on that margin call and give you time to bring your loan back to a healthy state. And then finally, partial liquidation. If your loan does get to this red zone, right, where it's extremely unhealthy, sometimes you'll see in other lending products that they will liquidate your entire stack. We're never going to do that. You can see here that partial liquidation is our policy. And so we only sell a small amount of your Bitcoin, just enough to bring it back to this healthy area. And in that way, you're able to, even through volatile periods, through warnings, through a margin call, and through only a partial liquidation, retain as much of your crypto as possible while still getting the liquidity that you need today. And so that's sort of how we deal with that, Mehdi. If that's the question there. Todd says, what if I use the loan to buy more Bitcoin and then apply for another loan? You'll actually see that that's actually one of the use cases here that a lot of our clients do. So good thinking there, Todd. So that's something that people do, right? If you feel that Bitcoin is getting close to the lowest part, right? And we just listened to the first half of this presentation where we're thinking, okay, cool, in the range of October to November. We've been watching the patterns. We see what's happened historically with the price of Bitcoin. We think it's near the bottom. A lot of what our clients are starting to do is take out loans, right? At again, keeping it in a healthy zone, right? Maybe people at the bottom might not take out a 60% LTV to approach this strategy, but if they think we're pretty close to the bottom, we've touched 60 before, I could only see it going really as low as, for example, not financial advice. In my mind, the lowest I see it probably going is in the 50, 45 area region, right? If that's my theory and that's my take, maybe I get a loan that's maybe here. Maybe I get a loan that's at the 40% LTV ratio and I buy additional Bitcoin, right? You can do that and actually get more access and more leverage on the assets you hold so that when Bitcoin's price appreciates, you're able to see an increase of not just what you hold, but an additional amount.
That's
And so
awesome.
definitely a interesting strategy there and a good call out, Todd, that I
Yeah, good
think.
question,
Alexis, did
Todd.
you have a question?
Well, no, I was
Yeah.
just gonna say, like, as a realtor, like, and a real estate investor, first and foremost, like this
Yeah.
really clicked for me. Like it feels similar or it sounds similar to like a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. So you're
Yeah.
borrowing against like your home equity so that we can, take that capital and buy more properties essentially.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially you're
Exactly.
borrowing against the equity in your Bitcoin instead of your home. Is that a good way to think about it?
Exactly. And the way we think about it is that like it's exactly spot on that Bitcoin is pristine collateral. That more and more people, as we continue to grow this business and we grow this industry, are going to understand the value of Bitcoin, and so that it's a really great time for you to. The biggest part is that you don't want to sell, right? We have a slogan of never sell, never settle, right? And that means that you should never really be selling Bitcoin if you believe in the long term viability of this as a asset. And secondly, you should never have to settle, right? If you have a quality home with equity in it, if you have a strong amount of Bitcoin holding, you should be able to enjoy your life. You should be able to take advantage of some of these use cases, right? If you want to buy property, if you have higher interest debt, right? There's plenty of credit cards that have, 20, 30, 25% interest, right? You can use that to pay off that debt. You can, as Todd mentioned before, you can buy more Bitcoin. You want to have that, you have younger family members that are about to have that wedding or want that new car, right? You have an asset in Bitcoin that should be utilized for you to have the life that you want to live, but you don't want to sell because when you sell, there's a lot of ramifications, right? You have a tax penalty on capital gains, right?
Yeah.
You miss the upside in the future, right? There's a story about I think it was Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett talking about how he would save so drastically because he understood the power of compounding and knew that that same little $100 that he would spend on something or other would compound dramatically, especially towards the end of his lifespan. And that's the way you should be thinking about your Bitcoin today, right? Yes, you could sell a little bit of it, but instead, if you leverage the Bitcoin, you can have everything that you want out of these major life moments. You can diversify your portfolio, right? You can bridge any cash flow gaps and make your Bitcoin work for you. And so that's where I think the power of it really comes in. Um, and let me know if you guys have any other questions. I think Aman in the chat asked, do you pay an origination fee or a renewal fee? Yes, there's an origination fee. You'll see here monthly payments. 9% is your interest rate, and 10.49% is your APR. The difference between those two is your origination fee. That's paid once a year, and so you are just once at the start of your loan. And if you decide to renew, that once a year. And you can see here that it actually drops as you go up in size, right? And so the at the biggest tiers, I believe, your origination fee down here is maybe like 0.25%. Uh, and then we had Mehdi had a question: in what currency is the interest taken, crypto or USD? You can pay in either, I believe. So you just need to get it paid off. And another big feature that we just rolled out that I think you guys will be excited about is deferred payments, right? And so a lot of our clients, we really believe in the power of Bitcoin, right? And so you could only see something like this in the Bitcoin space. But what we actually offer you the ability to do, and you'll see it here, super easy to configure in the dashboard, is deferred interest, right? And if you select that, no monthly payments are required, right? So at the end of the loan, pay off the interest and the principal in full, or roll the balance over for another 12 months. What does that mean? Say you come in with 100K worth of Bitcoin, right? You're at a 30% LTV. You decide to defer your interest, right? So a small amount of your origination fee, that interest moving forward can be rolled into the value of the loan, right? So pretty much you get to borrow, keep borrowing, and as your Bitcoin accumulates, you can use that to um, pay off the interest on into the future so that you're not required to pay it. And that's the real power there, is making sure that your loan to value is kept in a conservative place. And once you do that, I think that's where you really start to see the power of these loans taking off. And so you can pay off early with no prepayment penalty, and you can also defer payments until you're ready to pay back. And I think that's what the power of the Bitcoin is there. Wide coverage, quick funding, onboard and get funded in minutes. I've been on the phone with a potential client before, gotten off the phone with him, and he had his USD in his account before lunch. There's no max loan size. Anything you guys are interested in, please feel free to reach out and we can get you taken care of. Like I said, we can do 5K to 500 million same day. And we serve individuals and institutions, right? And so we work with some of the biggest treasuries in the world, and we try to serve individuals with the same level of attention to detail, of care, of of focus on how important it is for them to keep their asset. If you really think about it, we think in the long term, and even our clients, even our minimum clients, if you have a little bit of Bitcoin, that means, and we want to be your partner for life, that little bit of Bitcoin is going to be worth a tremendous amount in the future. And so we always want to make sure we're are treating our clients well. And then as you can see here, Trustpilot. If you go to if you look us up, feel free. Pilots, Arch Lending, right? You'll see 4.9 stars, really, really strong reviews, and people really love working with us. It's just really easy to set up. The dashboard is something that people love compared to a lot of other platforms, and
Well,
we
I think,
really push ourselves.
yeah, and on that note as well, I think that there's someone else that's actually in the room right now who has used your guys' services, if I'm not
Oh, amazing.
mistaken. So I don't know if that said investor would be interested in speaking at all on their experience so far with Arch Lending.
Yeah,
Well,
please do. No pressure.
hi,
Feel free.
Larry, that we are using your service as we speak, and we love it. My son lives
Thank
in
you
New
so
York,
much.
I'm in Vancouver, and we use it to buy value added real estate in the US. And it's the concept between Bitcoin and, yeah, using it as collateral for what we do is just a great model. And as you mentioned, we're rolling up the interest at the end of our deals, so we don't have to
Yeah,
pay monthly. So um,
beautiful.
I really like what you guys are doing. I'm curious to know, are you guys going to come out with a credit card concept?
We are in the works. I think that is something that we have discussed. I think we had our most recent product development meeting about it in April. It's, as you can imagine, there's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of logistics, but it's something that our clients have mentioned really wanting. And like I said before, our loans already function as a line of credit, and so we just want to make it even simpler for our clients. And so keep an ear to the floor on that. We should be messaging out to all of our clients before the end of the year on updates and how you guys can apply.
Okay, what other things are you guys thinking about adding to what your service is right now?
There is a good amount. I mean, most recently, like I said, deferred interest was our most recent release. Was something that's still in its I think this might be an exclusive. I think my dashboard actually shows it before it launches, but we're actually coming out with a whole bunch of new assets. And so Bitcoin, we've talked about a lot today. I know some people mentioned before ETH and Solana. So there might be some ETH and Solana holders. Those are assets we've supported for a long time. XRP is something that we're newer to, but it's a big portion of our loan book. And then most recently, and like I said, I would say let's keep this one under wraps just in case. But it's something that we're really excited to roll out very soon is Pax Gold and Tether Gold. And so these are one-to-one backed cryptocurrencies with actual gold in vaults. And so we're going to start offering that as a collateral you can use to lend against. And we're really excited about that. We have trading coming live very, very shortly. We've been, building our engineering team up to make sure that we have a really strong and robust product for trading and
Quick,
a
quick
couple other
question.
interesting structured products. Yes, please.
Sorry, just a
Probably.
quick question on on your drop down menu. I noticed that you had, for those of you who are not familiar with Pax Gold or Tether Gold, can you just explain real quick why someone would want to choose to tokenize gold instead of physical gold or an ETF by chance?
Yeah, so I think that those are really interesting products. I think that there's a lot of benefits. I might want to actually, I think we actually have an article on this that we've put on our blog very recently that I think might be helpful for the team that I'll drop in the
Thanks.
chat. Let me see if I have this tokenized gold guide. Beautiful. Cool, awesome. So I'll drop this in the chat. The high level like points would be just the flexibility, right? Um, Physical gold obviously has the drawbacks of needing to hold it, not as just not as flexible, not as movable, right? It's like the ideal of Bitcoin and all the physical realities of the modern system, right? Like you have to imagine that like holding like a specific coin, right? Like that's probably like the smallest amount you can hold, but it's still like maybe like $200 or so. Whereas you want to have like small fractional pieces. Somebody might say, why not just do an ETF then? ETFs only have the constraints of the stock market and the sort of older trad financial system, whereas these tokenized gold variants can trade 24/7, have all the benefits of crypto instance. And I think the platforms that are building on top of them are where you're going to see a lot of the benefits. And so, for example, if you had a whole bunch of gold in your house right now, right? The process of utilizing that to obtain a loan would be quite cumbersome. Whereas, as we've seen on our platform currently, you could hold and be able to back that that tokenized gold is redeemable for physical gold at any point that you want because they have online oracles that will verify for you. And also, what's the process? A redemption process if you want your physical gold at any point, right? That's an offering of a lot of these tokenized gold pieces. But at the same time, you have the benefit of being able to come to somebody like Arch Lending and get a asset-backed loan same day, right? And so it's sort of like the best of both worlds. There are, if you read the article that I put in the chat, we have sort of like a back on that. There's definitely pieces like counterparty risk on some of these things that you always want to make sure you're in the know of and understand. Read through the article. If you have any questions, feel free to ping me. I think they're really exciting assets, and I think they're an interesting part of anybody's allocation if you're really interested in hard metals.
Well, and also as well, like, do you see tokenization becoming like the future of real world assets by chance? Like today we're talking about gold, but eventually we could see it with real estate. As you guys know, I talk a lot about tokenization of real estate, any kind of private equities, for example, or any other assets that are functioning in the same way.
Yeah. I've been in some really interesting meetings with some of the CEOs of the biggest tokenization companies, and I think you're 100% correct. Like the things that are coming down the pipeline when it comes to tokenization are going to transform the industry. Real world assets has been so tough to crack, but I think is just around the corner. I think something that's undeniable that the market's been screaming for is private organizations and the tokenization of those assets, right? Like the stock market currently, the comparison of the stock market where it used to be when companies would go public and the, you know, public retail market would get access. Like the biggest names of our generation are going out at trillion plus. Like something's broken here, and this I think is the solution. And so yeah, I think you're spot on. I would say keep an eye on this space, keep an eye on the biggest names, because they've been building. It's a very regulatorily deep problem, but
Mhm.
people have been. I think these moments when you see Bitcoin down uh, for a while, and when you see crypto down for a while, I would say that's when you should start doing your research. That's when you should start looking.
Yeah.
The point before about hyperliquid, like
Mhm.
it feels like like there's thousands of things going on. Like if you're in the know, if you're paying attention, you know that team was building. You could see it like last November, like last summer. You know that they were coming. So just keep your ears to the ground. I think that's a really big space and really exciting.
Well, yeah, it really sounds like tokenization. Like it'll have the potential to give everyday like investors more access, like to more opportunities than
Yeah,
traditional, reserved for like institution or like accredited investors only. We've heard that how many times, right? So
yeah, 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 yeah,
What
yeah,
time
yeah. And
what time frame do you think this would be? A couple of years from now before we see everything go this way?
uh, just generally tokenized, more tokenization
Yeah.
of real world. Yeah. Uh, I think that, it's tough. I think that the frontier and the lagging edge are very, very different things, right? There's companies, there's scientists and there's companies right now that are working on quantum technology, and there's people that are in very high positions of power right now that still use fax machines. Um, and because like I've talked to people about this, it's because the fax machine was a really good piece of technology, and sometimes you just don't. It's very tough. The diffusion of technology, right? And so I would say that we're going to see what it's going to feel like it's going to be rapid, it's going to be dramatic, it's going to be a huge influx, but I still think it's going to take a huge long time for the tail end of tokenization, where everything is tokenized, right? I think there's always going to be a place um for TradFi. I think there's always going to be a I when I think about technology in the way that it diffuses through a economy and through a culture. I think of it less as like washing away and being brand new, and more so like Lego blocks. It just builds on the past, but you're always going to need some piece of the past to move forward into the future.
yeah, I think that's a really great analogy. Like it sounds like we're going to be living in more of a hybrid world.
Yeah.
And for some time, like we're like traditional like finance and like tokenized like assets can like still coexist. But like, what do you think will be like the first asset class to really reach that mass adoption through tokenization?
I think that the things that are coming down the pipeline, I think that the things that are the blue ocean, the lowest fruits is probably going to be private organizations, private equity, tokenization. I think that's a thing that's just like uh no brainer, just such a big pain. And I think after that, there's a lot of space movement, maybe less on tokenization, but just more so just like Bitcoin and real estate, that marriage. People are starting to pound down that door.
Mhm.
And so I think uh, there's a lot there that I think is gonna be transformative. I think those would be the two biggest things right off the bat. Let me know if we're running over and need to hop off, but I see a couple more things in the chat, so keep me posted. I
Yeah,
don't
I
want
think
to
Aman
take
has
up too
been
much.
so patient. Aman, if you want to just type
Aman, yeah,
in here,
please.
just get unmuted, just get in here and ask your question. Otherwise, I'll keep going on.
Please, and I know Mehdi has a question earlier at 10:04. So please, Aman, do you have a question?
He's been waiting so patiently. Okay, maybe we'll go to Robert.
I do have one question. Sorry.
Yeah, please
Oh,
go.
Um, so isn't Bitcoin already used in some real estate in the USA already, like in New York City?
Yeah, I do think that there has been. I think Coinbase released something related to uh, it felt more of like a hybrid of a mortgage with Bitcoin, but the terms and the length of the commitment and the contract and the upside of it felt a little bit like the construct needs more time to mature, but that it was a very good first step in the right direction. And so that would be my overall take on it. But yeah, there's loads of interesting stuff happening there. I see two participants have raised their hand, and also there's a question from Mehdi that I wanted to address. He says, "Is it safe to say you should never go all the way up to 60% of the utilization and leave wiggle room, considering the high volatility of crypto, even a bull market?" 100%. We advise all of our clients to have either a backup store of Bitcoin ready to to bring their LTV down just in case, or doing the opposite, which is just like if you put all your Bitcoin in, you know that it's safe, but just keep a lower loan to value ratio, right? And so I think it's always good to keep something for a rainy day. But we offer up to 60% LTV because that means that your ceiling for safety is even higher. So for example, say you're on another platform, their maximum is 50. Then to be safe on their platform, you probably want to do 30 or 40. If we're up at 60, you could probably be safe at 40 or 50. Obviously, not investment advice, and always just make sure that you can never be too safe. Uh, Dylan said, definitely interested in learning more about tokenized gold and how much of the security is preserved from holding physical gold. For example, a system crash, collapse, breakage. Yeah, please check out what I put in the chat. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me, Dylan. I think it's really interesting. I want to see more assets that have like a strong use case and a strong demand for tokenization. And I'm always interested in chatting more about this kind of stuff. Private IPOs token. Yeah, I think I'm on. I think that's sort of the direction. I don't know if it's going to be a private IPO. I don't know exactly the structure, but I do think that I would be very surprised in the next 5 years if you cannot get a more access for the common investor in early stage startups. Right now, there are people raising like Series Ks, and I don't think that that's sustainable. I think that you're going to start seeing the Anthropic was raising at $1 billion very, very recently. Their valuations skyrocketed, and there are people that like were paying attention might not have been able to get access. And so I think that like when you record or when you reward people doing research, exactly the same thing that happens in like Polymarket or Kalshi or these other platforms, you get better information out of those systems. You'll see that there's sharps and groups of individuals around the country that are beating top tier hedge funds. Because why? Because the little guy can win if you give them a chance. Bull balls to the wall, Mehdi. Todd, sounds spot on. Digital gold standard, yeah. It's definitely up there, and I think it's really exciting. And we're going to keep you guys posted as we continue to roll out new assets. And we, like I said, I think we might be a little bit over time here, but the last thing I would leave you with is that we actually went in, created a code just for you guys, and so Conscious 2026 for an additional 1% off. And so any of these rates here that you see, you can knock 1% off on the monthly payment or the deferred interest, and that would be the rate that you would end up paying if you use this code just for you and your team. And I think that's available until July 10th. And like I said, team@archlending.com. My name, which is KNYCK @archlending.com. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out by email at either of those sites. But would love to chat more with you guys, learn about sort of your Bitcoin or your crypto journey, and answer any questions you have about potentially getting a loan, because we would love for you guys to, never sell and never settle.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know that we still have some more hands in the air, but what we can do is get them in touch, and then you can answer their questions one-on-one. Just wanted to thank you again, Nicholas, for coming on and staying extra late for us, especially since you're out east. And for anyone who's also been doing these crypto-backed loans, we're going to stay for the after meeting as we usually do, and we'll let you go, Nicholas. So thank you again so much. And we're gonna, if you wanted to pop into the chat also that that link for where they can sign up, and then also what was the code again? Conscious 2026 or 2026 Conscious? Just so that we get it clear. I want to make sure
it's
that
Conscious 2026.
Okay.
app.archlending.com. And I believe also, can I put a little thing in here? Oh yeah, I can. Okay, cool.
Okay.
And I just dropped the attachment
Okay.
in here
Perfect.
so you guys can see the one pager. And feel free, I can also send it to you, Alexis. Robert, did you have a question? Or Dylan, did you have a question before I leave? I want to make sure I
I,
just get those.
yeah, I have one really quick, super
Yeah.
simple question. I can't remember if you answered it yet. You may have, but basically, so I heard you say between 5,000 and whatever the ceiling was. So
Yeah.
am I understanding correctly that the minimum loan size is 5,000? In other words, your starting asset has to be 8,333 of
Yeah.
Bitcoin?
Yeah. I think I saw that question. Yeah. And that'd
Yeah,
be true.
sorry if I missed it.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Sorry, I think I read your question while I was going through a whole bunch of other stuff, but yeah, you spot on.
No, it was a hot topic conversation, so it's really cool. This whole thing is we could go forever.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, great to hear from you. Hope you have a great day. Robert, did you have one?
Are there any other fees besides the APR?
No. So pretty much what you'll see is that we have our interest, we have origination fee, and then there is if everything's running smoothly, you're all good from there. I think that there's a small fee on partial liquidations because we have to go through and actually make that sale and that exchange. But the small de minimis fee
That's
and
their fault if
normally
they get a
you're good.
margin call.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of competition in this space? What you guys are doing?
Yeah, I would say that there is a good amount of competition, and that's why we're so big on client services, right? I think the big things in this space is what's the rate, and so what am I paying normally, and what happens when things go wrong? What happens when I'm scared? What happens when I'm confused? And that's where we shine, right? And so we really push to make sure that our rates are the most competitive. We keep people feeling safe, and we're always available when somebody wants to chat.
How much is the origination fee?
Depends on the size. It ranges from 1.49% all the way down to 0.25% on the highest value size.
That's really good. Is there affiliate fees or rewards?
Affiliate? Yeah, for sure. Please reach out to me about that. We have a really great affiliate program.
And I'm just seeing here, looks like it's saying Bitcoin-backed loans for Canadian individuals are restricting its retail services to U.S. residents or Canadian corporate entities may qualify for loan. And it says something about minimum 50K US.
Where are you based?
Canada.
Yeah. Send me. I dropped a attachment into the thing with a email address, right? team@archlending.com. If you email this address, tell us the size, your location, and sort of the asset that you're interested in. We'll get you taken care of. I think Canada is really straightforward for us. We just want to make sure that we have all the right contracts for you.
Because I know the founder of Unchained, and he said that they don't take Canadians, but there's a way around it if you make a US company, but you have to have a US address for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we do is we'll have somebody do like a Wyoming-based like LLC, I think, and it's very super easy to make one relatively quickly. But we'll get you taken care of. Our business development team like handles this all the time, and so we'll make sure to sort of like hold your hand along the way.
Walk the steps there. Amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Anybody
thank
else had a hand up? But I think if not, I'll catch you guys soon. I hope you have a great rest of the meeting.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Nick. We really appreciate you taking the time to share this evening. I know that we've all learned a lot, had a lot of questions. We probably still will have a lot of questions. We're going to be staying for the after meeting as well. And I think also like with real estate, we're just like beginning to scratch the surface with what's possible, especially with the tokenization. So thank you everyone who joined us. One of the things that I just love most about this community is that we're not just learning about investing for today. We're really trying to stay ahead of the curve. Like that's what we've been talking about for the longest time. And so whether it's crypto, tokenization, regenerative communities, robotics, AI, or other emerging technologies, like our goal is to just keep learning and, informed about the conscious investment decisions. And so next week, we're going to be joined by none other than Michael Kraus, who's also on this call. who's the CEO and founder of Awakened. And so Awaken is a conversation on a conscious entrepreneurship, community building, wellness technology, and the future of impact-driven business. So I hope that you guys are going to join us for next week. And thank you everyone who joined. I hope that you have a wonderful evening. If you want to
Bye,
stay
guys.
for the after meeting and if you're all excited from what we were talking about, I will be
After party.
hosting our after party, where we don't record and we just kind of keep it the flow going. So thank you so much, Nicholas.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. And so if we can end